Welcome to Coding Koans, where together we're going to explore the world of software, get better jobs, and change the world. My name's Ian Carroll, and with me today I have a guest. His name is Aaron Harvey. Aaron has over 20 years of experience as a graphic designer and a marketing strategist. He's a published author of a book on Star Trek the Animated Series. He has produced and directed a Star Trek improv show with me called Night Shift. He is now and has been the host of several Star Trek podcasts, the latest of which is appearing right here on Outpost 13. On Saturdays, it's called Infinite Trek. He's been baking bread since before it was cool. He's also a fan of Star Trek, in case you didn't know. Aaron, welcome to the show. Go ahead and turn on your camera.
There we go. Hey, how's it
All
going?
right, cool. Aaron, welcome. It's near Halloween, so I'm dressing up slightly.
I've got a comm badge, so
That's good. Awesome.
about as dressed up as I could get right now.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't put on all the makeup that you put on during the show.
Yeah, that I have never done by myself either. So
No, it's
a little
hard to
bit
do by
harder, I
yourself.
think. Yeah, especially
I
I
wonder.
played a trill in our night shift improv show, and that requires having dots,
Yes.
basically.
Alien
over.
makeup, basically. It's,
Alien makeup, yes.
Yeah. So
I had to pick the character that had the most confusing backstory, the most it had to remember because it was a science officer, and the most makeup because that was
Right.
fun.
Yeah, I think we had one other alien on our show that had
Oh,
a
yeah.
little more makeup, but yeah, it was between you.
She could do it a lot faster than we could get mine done, though. I think.
Yeah. I think maybe it was all the little spots. It's like little leopard spots all over the sides of your head.
The people who originally did them for the actual show said it was sort of like a Zen thing, and none of it was never exactly the same every time. Sort of like
Yeah.
it was a meditation basically every time that they did it. So.
Yeah. So Aaron,
Yes.
you are a graphic designer. That's what you do during the day. You make a lot of logos, right?
Logos, websites, brochures, things like that. Yeah.
Cool. I suppose, you have designed for websites too, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. I'm doing one right now. I've spent 5 hours and 37 emails talking about a hero image. So yeah.
Okay. Right. The hero image.
I'm deep in it.
Gosh.
We finally just totally finished it, closed out the project. Hey, I'm thinking of changing it. I'm like, good luck. You can do that by yourself. I'm done. I didn't say that to the client, but I felt like it.
Yeah.
So
Totally fair. But you also did the graphic design for your own book, right?
I did. Yes. Yeah. That's,
Must have been exciting. Yeah.
There we go.
There it is.
It was really exciting. It was one of those things that I knew that there probably wouldn't be another animated series book, so I wanted to make it as unique and special of a layout as I could, which became a challenging thing because it felt like doing one chapter was pretty easy, but then doing all of the chapters and each of them were not exactly the same, and it all piles up a little faster than you think sometimes. Our editor said it was our first book, and it's like, congratulations, like you're making a book. Also, condolences, you're making a book. So we had the best of both worlds. So no, it went pretty well, but it was definitely, if I did another book, I would make it a much more templated kind of experience, I think.
Yeah. You had so many custom layouts in that thing.
Yeah.
It's very visually interesting.
I think it was worth it for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to write a book, and it's going to be a book about like your favorite thing, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So here
I
we're-
may have even made your logo, maybe.
Yeah, you did actually. It's right down in that corner there. I'm just going to point at it on the screen.
No, it's down here for me. Oh, no, good.
Yeah, it's going to be the other point the other way. Yeah, there it is. That corner. Yeah, if you point straight down, you'd have it. Yes. Well, just a little. Yes, there it is. You got it. You got it. Okay, cool. All right. Well, that was a couple of minutes wasted there.
Can you Did we code the CSS that made my finger go over?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So today we're going to be working on visual UI coding, and really we're going to be working in the world of CSS. Aaron, you've worked on CSS before, a long time ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, off and on a little bit. I think some of the stuff that I did probably ended up in CSS, but it was mostly for like Flash, things like that. So I understood the concept of it, but I don't know it basic stuff way back in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I jokingly said when I posted this. I said that I blamed Flash for my fear of coding just because it was kind of a nightmare.
That makes sense because Flash is just terrible. McCready13 says scarf, by the way. Actually, I can use this scarf.
Is that like Snarf from Thundercats?
It's a little bit like that, yes.
Yeah.
Scarves, or for that matter, clothes in general, are a really great example of what CSS can be like. Although CSS can be more than this, but.
I want to see where this analogy is going.
CSS, yeah, here we are. So with CSS, it is styling. So having a stylish scarf is another example of styling.
Got it.
And the styling doesn't have very much to do with the functionality, although you, Aaron, would argue otherwise, I bet.
What? Sorry, say that again?
That the styling is separate from the functionality.
Oh, the functionality. Yeah, I mean, it technically is. I think there's also a level, if we're talking about consumer websites, there's a level of trust that you lose if you have a website that isn't well designed.
True.
There's the idea like that, oh, these people don't know what they're doing. If they don't know what they're doing with their website, maybe they don't know what they're doing with their car company or their, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So there's just a matter of like trust in marketing. Right. There's also a matter of like how engaging the site is, how much a user wants to use it, right?
Right. And that's where UI ends up kind of blending in from design and functionality is sort of like the two there, the user interface and iconography, things like that. So that is maybe where I would argue that, that functionality and design that merges there.
It isn't just, a paint job on top of the superstructure. Right.
There are sites like that, though. There's a lot of times, especially if you're doing a brochure site or something like that, you get a template, you get to tweak it. Sometimes they'll tell you, like, we can only change these 5 things. A lot of that happens with, like, e-commerce sites.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And
so sometimes I feel like I am just sort of painting by numbers.
Yeah, there's actually this book that I read a little while ago. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called The Design of Everyday Things.
Yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah.
I may actually have it somewhere.
The Design of Everyday Things talks about not only that it's not just styling, but that styling like shows someone how to use the thing, right?
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
There's something about this design right here that shows you I need to grab it from this end. This invites me to grab it from this end, right?
Yep.
So that's an example.
I think they say that, about like iPads and small children, like if you had it there seems to be an intuitiveness to like just going through pages or zooming in and out of a map. Apparently like this and that seems to be one of the most intuitive things.
Right.
Which is, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy because you think about it, like, I don't know if I would have intuitively put that together had I never seen it before as a concept of like navigating. I might take like a lever or something like that, something that kind of did the same thing, but I don't know if I would ever just be like
create a little separate control on the side or something like that rather than like just do it to the screen.
Basically, now we have very minimal, barriers between content and interaction with it.
Yeah.
Which is also challenging for designers too, because you get to the point where there's only so much you can do now. There's like, how do you add a design to something that is mostly, invisible as far as the content? Yeah,
that's a good point. Design becomes a much more subtle art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, But you use a lot of Photoshop during the day, right?
Yes,
So
Photoshop and Illustrator.
and you're doing you're designing a lot of logos that are going to be put in places and things like that.
Hmm. Logos, iconography, that kind of thing. Uh, Hero images, kind of like we were talking about, just the
Right.
imagery for sites and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Can you put on some of the artwork that you did for Outpost 13 for made up music?
Oh, yeah. I'll make it a background here.
Cool.
Of course, I just closed that screen.
Aha, of course. Because I just want to show kind of the level of artwork you're doing, and this is all with Photoshop and Illustrator, right?
Yeah. And this kind of stuff is where I kind of get to go crazy when I'm not, I can do whatever. I'm learning something new,
Right.
creating a new design or whatever, or looking to make go for a style that I've never done before or something. So that is from Your Flame.
That is gorgeous. Look at that. Hold on, I want to actually make that big. Let me.
You want to, what?
I'm gonna show it to everybody. Can I do that? Oh man, it's not gonna let me do it. Is it? If I stop my own video for a second, then I can make yours larger, and so people can see it.
Okay.
Get out of the frame just for a second. Yeah, nice. So
It's not all there. It's because they're square images, so they're only.
right. So there's more to the image. Yeah.
There's more to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I really like is this one, which was
yeah.
Rise.
So this one makes me feel like it's a combination of Planet of the Apes and Dune.
Yeah, that kind of fits. It's sort of a Mobius sort of feel, and he did concept art for the unmade Dune movie
Oh, really? Huh.
in the 70s. Yeah, the Jodorowsky's Dune. And then there's the night version of it.
I love that you put the figures in different places in the day and the night versions too.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't want to just change the lighting stuff. And it's like, to me, that I was like, wait, why? They're still standing there?
Yeah.
It's like, what are they doing?
So CSS, so when you're using Photoshop, or I haven't used very much of Photoshop, but it's a lot of widgets. There's a lot of different tools that you can use. And you're playing around with the graphics and moving the graphics around right on the screen, right?
Right.
So CSS does a lot of the same, can do the same things. It just does it all with text. And you have to tell it what to do, and then it changes the screen.
We were talking about before we got online that's a lot like how they did the first Tron movie in 1980, 81. That it was all vertices and points, and just they had to type in where the things were going. There was no preview. It wasn't a graphical anything, and
Yeah.
they had to. And if it didn't work, then they had to re-render it, and it was like a couple days per frame kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. That slow feedback loop really makes it so that like you gotta check before you go.
Yep.
I take advantage of the fact that I have a very fast feedback loop in my development cycle, so I get to see right away, did this
Right.
work, did it not? And
Yeah.
I try
Sprints
and
would not
increase
work
that.
for those
Yeah.
people. Very well.
No, no, you can't. You gotta wait for the thing to do the thing, and
Yeah.
you have to.
They were
check it
literally
ahead of
using
time.
the two machines that they have were the only ones in the world that could do that. And one of the reasons when you see the movie that if some of the art looks slightly just stylistically different and stuff, that there were literally two different machines with two different abilities of shading and stuff to create these things. So they kind of had to go, okay, this machine is going to be these objects, this machine is going to be those objects, and then they got to have their own look and feel, which I think added to the whole kind of weird artistry. I think I always compare it to sort of like with the animated series. It's that weird hand-drawn homemade element to it that you just can't get when you're a slick Hollywood production kind of a thing.
Yeah, the constraints are creating the art, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Evelyn Daughter says the artwork is very evocative, just so you know. So.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the music that really, what I would do is we had this show called Made Up Music, where people in chat room would give lyrics and ideas and choose the beats per minute on certain things. And and Arlo and Alex would create a song, and then I was designing along to that, and what that song was telling me, I just created a story out of it, basically.
That's so cool. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
And yeah, and those images actually really go well with the music too. So yeah, it was really cool to see you sort of improvising right along with them.
Yeah, and I gave myself the constraint of roughly about the same time, because if I said, "Oh, I can get this done in the next week," it would be completely different.
Yeah.
I would overthink it, and it wouldn't be bad, but it would be different.
Yeah. Well, you ready to dive into some
am.
CSS? Okay, cool.
Yes.
So we're going to be playing with we're going to be playing with this thing called Flexbox.
Okay.
Let me share my screen with you so that you can see what I'm seeing. So I'm using a different browser this time. I'm using something called Opera. And
Opera.
this is Opera GX, which is their gaming edition. So that's
There's
kind
a
of
gaming version of Opera? That's interesting.
yeah. The gaming version of Opera has like two little differences. One, there's a spot where you can immediately click and go into Twitch whenever you like to,
Okay.
which
That's cool.
actually kind of is fun for me. And the other one is that you can throttle the web browser itself. You can tell it, you don't use all my system's resources. So
That's interesting. I kind of like that.
Yeah, very useful if you're
I
going
was
to
going to
stream.
say when you're doing video or something like that, definitely.
Yeah. So I can
that out
control.
afterwards.
Yeah, it allows me to control how much CPU usage this one has.
Does that
How
work
much
on a
network
Mac as well,
bandwidth.
or is it
What?
just PC? Does that work Mac-wise, or is it just a PC?
I'm using a Mac right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it will work on both. And in fact, I just got a cloud-hosted Windows gaming machine. And that also this will work on there too.
Cool.
So yeah. So Flexbox, unlike CSS in the 90s, where like it was just a whole bunch of text and you could get really custom with it, Flexbox makes it so that the CSS that you write is a little easier to manage. It takes care of like it takes care of, let's see here, different,
Is it like if you drop in a photo, it actually has the image, then all the information, all the copy of, or this is not the same thing, but that kind of idea where there's bits and pieces that are sort of pre-done?
Yeah, it encapsulates a bunch of elements on your web page and then plops them someplace. And then it will order them depending on how you want them ordered. So it, yeah, here we are. So here's a flex item, for example.
Okay.
And there's a container that it lives in. And so you can move these flex items around inside of their container.
I'm getting nested table flashbacks from the 90s or early 2000s.
This is designed to make that at least make sense.
Yes, no, I know.
So
that was somehow more of a nightmare than it really needed to be.
So yeah, you can create lots of things like this. Okay. Yeah. You can have it fill out extra rows, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
would a professional coder be using something like this?
Yes, in fact, I'm using it right now on the client that I have.
Oh, all right.
In fact, we just had a discussion where one developer was using traditional CSS, and they said, please just use the Flexbox. You don't need to get this custom with this.
Because it basically makes it a lot less code, right?
Yes,
or
there's a lot less.
There can be.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That is one really, really big thing, which is that there has never been a bug that has not been written. So,
True.
If you can write less code, there's going to be less bugs.
Hopefully.
Yeah, or at least there's less places for bugs to hide.
Yeah, it's easier to find the culprit.
Right, and if there's something wrong with Flexbox itself, like 1,000 developers will scream out in agony, and then they'll go to where like the open source like code base, and they'll try and fix that there, and then it'll be fixed for everybody. So it's another way of minimizing bugs by making everyone work with the same tool. So, yeah.
Got it.
So we're going to play a game. It's called Flexbox
Okay.
Froggy.
Like
and
Frogger.
Right. So here's how this is going to go. This is our flex container over here, this pond, right? And there's a frog.
Oops.
That's a CSS element. And then the frog has a lily pad. And we're just going to make it try and go home to its lily pad.
I somehow just switched my screens. There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see here. Welcome to Flexbox Froggy, a game where you help Froggy and friends by writing CSS code. Guide this frog to the lily pad on the right by using the justify content property, which aligns items horizontally.
I
and
can't
accepts the
justify this
following
content.
values.
Sorry. No.
So, say that again?
No, I started making a dumb joke. I said, I just can't justify this content.
Yes. The naming here I still kind of hate.
Oh.
So, that's just because of the fact that, like, why justify content? Why not something else? These words don't mean very much to me. I would have picked different words.
I feel like those are legacy of just typing, essentially, even like type, justify, and all that, pre-internet.
Oh, I get it. They were expecting me to be using a printing press like Gutenberg was.
Yes.
Because of course.
Didn't you come from like the 1960s when they were still doing manual setup? Come on.
Yeah.
We're all time
okay.
travelers here. What year are you from? No.
Yeah. All right. So it looks like what we need to do in order to do this right is we need to type in the term justify content. And I have sometimes a hard, I frequently misspell things, so that makes this interesting when that happens. So catch it if I do that.
Sure.
So let's see, we need to justify the content to something. Can we do a 0? Is that a thing? No, that didn't do anything. There's a couple of options we have here.
Does it know what the content is? I mean, you're saying content, but...
Yeah, it's inside the pond class.
Oh, okay.
So this is the pond right here. This
Right.
This blue field, right? And inside the pond, we've declared that we are going to use display flex. And now, you might not need to actually bring this in as a dependency. It might be built into all modern browsers.
Oh.
Yeah. So the browser itself just knows what display flex means. It goes, oh, okay, sure, I'll use flex.
Okay.
So justify content 0 doesn't work, but I'm seeing that there's a couple of options here. Above here we have flex start, flex end, center, space between, space around. So we can try one of those. So let's see here. Flexi end, flex end. Oh,
that sounds like something from Farscape.
there, that actually worked. And if we did flex center.
Hey, then we won. It's over. The game's done. No.
So we could do center.
Oh,
halfway
great.
there.
Okay. So end is just right justify, basically.
Yeah, it seems
Well, not.
to be.
I guess if it's responsive and you move it, then it doesn't necessarily have to be right. So
Right.
it's just
So
end. That makes sense.
right, because sometimes it might go right to left rather than left to right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, flex. So we did flex end, and that worked.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's a nice UI little element here that this turns red and then moves around a bunch.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
So it's letting you know that you actually achieved what. Like if you did something else, it doesn't do that, does it?
Yeah.
If you change that to flex, yeah, okay, it grays out.
Be wrong.
Be wrong.
It
It does.
It does what it says.
You're wrong.
Be
Didn't
wrong.
do anything. Yeah. No, that's actually a really nice. The pulsing is a good thing.
Do nothing.
Do nothing.
Yeah. Oh, that was why it didn't do nothing, because I didn't spell nothing right. Oh, now it's really doing nothing. Good.
Now,
Okay.
now nothing's happening.
All right. So flex end.
I'm having flashbacks to like working really late on night shift.
Yep. Okay, cool. So we got the Froggy to his. Here's a good question.
Okay.
We haven't. I was sort of default gendering the Froggy to be male. Do we want the frog to be male or female or non-binary?
It could be female. It
Could
doesn't
be a female frog. Okay.
What are frogs? Can frogs change gender? No, that's.
In Jurassic Park they can.
Yes.
They can. They change gender if there are too many of one gender.
Right, but isn't there a frog that does that, or am I imagining that?
No, that was like the whole thing in Jurassic Park of why it is that even though all the dinosaurs are female, suddenly,
because they have the example of because I didn't know if it was a lizard or a frog.
So yeah, Jurassic Park, one of the first major motion pictures to really advocate for transgendered people.
Or I think Jesse might have something to say about that, but okay.
Probably.
That's
yes.
funny.
Okay, so
Animaniacs are coming back. They did a whole parody of Jurassic Park.
Oh,
which
they
is
did?
great. Yeah. I'll have to send that to you later.
All right, so now we've got a new problem where we've got two Froggies. We've got our first Froggy, who is the green Froggy. Did we name these Froggies yet?
No, we did not.
Yeah, let's name these. So this one is named who? What does this green Froggy feel like? Ask the frog what its name is, and it will tell you.
Herbert. Or
Okay,
Hermione.
her name is Herbert.
Okay.
And then this yellow one gets another name. Chat, go ahead and yell out any names as well. I'll just clobber whatever name Aaron gives. Yellow frog.
D2. You're going to call it Paul.
Paul. Okay, so we have Paul and Herbert.
Yes.
Okay. Paul 2T2 has now created a monster emoji in the chat.
It'll come up from the blue. What is the code for that?
The Kraken Paul has arisen through the pond. So we're going to
display
need
space dash Kraken.
display.
Yes. Display. Display.
All right, so here we're going to justify content again, right?
Yes.
And then we're going to colon, and then
Does it know which we're moving though?
We're apparent. Here's what.
Are we moving it as a group?
Here's what I'm thinking. This whole thing, this pond, is someone called up a designer and said, "Hey, can you use Photoshop to make me an image that has two lily pads on it?" I think that's the reason why you're not seeing them there, is because this is just part of the background image.
No, I know, but I mean, when you
which is why we can't move the lily pads to the frogs for that reason.
Right, but I'm talking about how does it know? Are we moving them independently, or are we moving them as a group? I'm trying to figure out how the code knows the difference if we just use one, like just a direction with no calling out of the actual thing that's moving.
So I think
I'm just trying to figure out that for myself.
Yeah, I think that the answer is right here. Like, we look at this. So the Flexbox itself, we're justifying the content, right? And actually, we're justifying the content of everything inside of the Flex container.
Okay.
So that means that each frog...
Oh, those are both in the container.
That's right.
Okay. So so it's not really possible to move one independently then, it sounds like.
Yeah. Not right now. We haven't figured out how to target one yet. But it looks like right now we're just moving the whole list of them.
They're just getting us, yeah.
So
okay.
now we would do...
I will be quiet and stop asking questions.
No. Those are great questions. They're fantastic questions. Please keep asking them. That's how we do software, is we just go like, but why? But wait, what? That's like most of my job is just going, wait, what? But why? Can't we do it this?
That was the other reason, like, my creative director did not love the fact that everything was a question. It's like, can you save your questions all up for one time? You know, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you're doing that, where you need to know something to move before you move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
a
well,
lot
I
of
mean,
times.
it's good to understand what's going on here. So, yeah, we're moving both of these frogs all at once.
Got it.
So when
To
we
the lily pad that probably really isn't there, but is part of the background.
yes,
Got it.
yeah. So
And that would be important for me to know if I was like developing this or designing it. So
true, yeah. I mean, like they're simplifying it here for us, but you know, in another context, these two lily pads might be their own flex thing, and we could either move the frogs to the lily pads or the lily pads to the frogs.
Can you overlap flex boxes? Can one be on top of another?
Oh, good question. I think you can, maybe. You'd probably need to create two different containers, and then you'd
Right.
z-index them so that they'd sit on top of each other. I
Yeah,
think that's
I
how
just
you would
thought-
go about doing that.
Okay. Curious. I don't know if you'd ever need that, but
The green and yellow Pac-Men look like Aaron.
okay. Oh, because of my head? Bald head?
Yeah, maybe. All right. But we already decided that their names are not Aaron. Actually, that's their last name. Both of them now are their brother and sister. They're Herbert Aaron and Paul Aaron. So how do we get these two?
Very Catholic.
Oh yes. How do we get these two to those lily pads?
That would be. It was the justify end? No, justify middle. I'm guessing if it's
Justify.
yeah, dash middle.
That's not a thing. But
nothing.
look, right up here, those are the different values that it will accept.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to remember from the last screen. I thought it was more like a test. Okay, flex start.
No, you can, like, the internet is an open book test.
Then it would be it's just center then. Try that.
But it is weird that it's like flex start, flex end, center, space between, space around.
Yeah, there's like
I guess there's
if
just
maybe
really
start
only...
and end are something maybe different or so generic that they didn't want. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you could have just gone start, end, center, between, around.
Yeah. Can you see if that actually takes it? Just for the hell of it.
Flex, end, puts it all the way there.
And then if you just right. Can you just try end? Does that do anything?
Nope, doesn't like that.
Nope.
Needs
Okay.
to be flex.
All right.
I guess space between and space around makes more sense than just around or between, because that could
Yeah.
mean so many different things.
But center, if you're gonna, that's
There's only one center.
yeah.
you
I
know?
guess
Guess there is.
that
All
feels
right.
very philosophical. There's only one center.
There is only
Wait.
one
Oh,
center.
they just flew up off the screen. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah. Next
The
one.
transition. Okay.
Help all three frogs find their lillipad, the lillipad,
The little paths.
the lillipads. By the Lilliputians use the lillipads.
Oh yeah, I remember the little. That was another movie, another show on the network. We were watching Crock-Pot
Gulliver's
Cinema,
Travels.
and the Gulliver Travels, the cartoon from like the 30s, 20s. It was back there. It was interesting.
Now, this time they've done a trick to you, which is that they didn't tell you right there on the page which justified content options are valid.
Right. I'm guessing it's going to be center again, but
Not quite.
so
What about those space ones?
oh, that's right. Was it space? What was the term? Spaced.
Space, the final frontier.
Yeah. Was it space? No, it was. Ha ha ha. That'd be funny. Just an Enterprise just flies across.
Like, whoa, we discovered an Easter
It's
egg.
an Easter egg. Yeah. Space. No, what was it? Space around.
Space around.
Is that right?
That's it. That's the
Hey.
answer. Space around.
So it adds one space.
It adds space
Pushes
around each of these items.
Got it. So
So
that
it
it pushes
pads
them
it.
into.
Yeah.
Yep. It's padding essentially. Yeah, it's like cell padding.
Right. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Cell padding.
So if you were then to resize this, it would keep them
Yes.
stacked on top of each other or whatever. They wouldn't bump
Yeah.
together.
This won't really do very much right now because
Right.
they've CSS proofed it for me being able to do that. But
Yeah.
had
But I
I
get
been
it.
able to move this thing around, like this item would drop down to here, and then this one
Right.
would, and then they'd be in a row. Yeah. They'd try to
Awesome.
keep that space in that way. Oh yeah, and also they would start to squish together before they started doing that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So
They could only get so close though, right? With the space around, I'm assuming that
yeah,
would
yeah.
add
There's
that
going to come a
padding.
point where like there's not enough room for them, so they just start
Yep.
going
Yep. Cool.
next.
Okay.
This is good. Level 4. All right.
All right.
Now the lilipads are on the edges, and they have drifted to the shore, increasing the space between them. Use justify content. This time the lily pads have equal spacing between them. So justify content. And
And it
I
would
think
be if they have equal space, end wouldn't work because that'll still
There's-
push them.
look at this
Oh,
little
sorry.
trick that they put in the middle of the text. A lot of
Oh,
times the
space between-
answer.
I say we had space between. Was that another option?
Yeah, that is another option. Yeah. That's it.
Huh.
And this
Okay,
is
so
a-
how did it? That's that amount of spacing. Is that like a set number then?
it's just going to put space between each item and not pad the ends
Right, but how much space?
as much as it has available to it.
Oh, so this is the equivalent of like highlighting three objects and
Yeah.
using equal center like in Photoshop, where you're
Right. So
making-
as they come
Okay.
together, they'll still smash together, but there will be no padding on the outside as they do so. Space between
okay.
space between those wicked lies. All right.
Is Cher here all of a sudden? What was that?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm just making it up as I go.
Turn back town.
If I could find a way. I don't know. Space between. In fact, here,
Welcome to
like
Aaron and Ian Go Crazy.
they do. This
Okay.
is here's a little trick, by the way. If you're ever doing any test at all,
Okay.
in order to ask you a question, they need to give you information. And in
Right.
doing so, they sometimes accidentally put the
Give you the
very
answer.
thing that you need in the question.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, I kind of wasn't paying attention to all of that line, the items, because I thought that was just moving along with us as we went, so I didn't really memorize them.
Right. Yeah, you didn't. But you don't, I don't think you need to memorize them. In fact, I probably would have just gone back, looked at it, and then come back.
Right.
Or
No, but
just
it's
open
still
it up or
it's
Yeah.
it's cool.
So now we're doing something
Okay.
called align items, which is
Okay.
different. So we've been doing justify content. Now, for some reason,
Read to the
although this
bottom.
is kind of the same concept, it's called align items rather than like justify down or something like that.
Yeah. Doesn't feel like you're really aligning them either.
Yeah, and again, this phrase means freaking nothing. Why? Why
Yeah.
would they do that to us? But I don't know. I don't know, man. I just got to use it, unfortunately, in this case. I could submit a PR and say, like, hey, change the names to this, this, and this because it makes more goddamn sense. But
I imagine at this point it's probably too late for that.
it might be. Unless,
Changing
of course,
the language.
I could.
Donated billions of dollars.
Well, or I can fork the code, write my own version of Flexbox,
Oh,
then
right. Yep.
fork each browser and write my own version of those browsers that includes the name that I want it to be called.
A lot of work to live in your own little bubble of changing a few.
And now we
names.
just have to say, like, hey, please use Ian's version of Opera GX. Could you please use Ian's version of Chrome, Ian's version
That's
of
funny.
Edge?
That's hilarious. Is Edge the replacement for Internet Explorer?
Yes.
Okay. I've never used it, and hopefully never will have to.
Well, it's now at least better than Safari, but that's mostly because of the fact that it's built on top of Chrome.
Ah,
It's actually built on the Chromium, the open source part of Chrome, which is Chromium. By the
I
way, so
found
is
that-
Opera.
oh.
Yeah.
It seems like having a bunch of browsers is good because there are they all have certain strengths and weaknesses. So
Yeah.
like if I want to run video, I will run it in Safari if I can, because it takes up less like CPU than Chrome.
Oh yeah, Chrome is
And
a CPU hog.
yeah,
Really is.
but for the majority of things that like, I don't know why, but if you're filling out forms or things like that, Safari is like, I don't know what, there's a pop-up. I'm not going to give it to you. So then you have to go do it in Chrome.
Yeah. So we've got this align items, right?
Okay.
We're going to use the help the frogs get to the bottom of the pond. CSS property aligns items vertically and accepts the following values.
Baseline?
Flex start, flex end, center, and there's a baseline and a stretch.
I'm imagining it's
baseline?
baseline.
What's that do? It
Oh.
doesn't seem to do anything at all.
Interesting.
It's about the same as doing base jump, which unfortunately does not make the frog's base jump.
Well, it says flex end items aligned at the bottom of the container, so it's the same as at the right side of the container, just in a different context. So I guess it's flex end.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. At least that part is okay. At least that part makes sense and is intuitive.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Well, yeah, because
Flexbox.
it's the end no matter where it is, if it's on the right or the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
now
Level
we have
6. Get the
Okay.
froggy to the middle of the pond.
It seems like we're going to need to like center and drop it. I can't think of one. There you go.
Okay. And then
Okay,
align
and then-
items.
It's center. No, we already did center. Oh,
No, that was
is.
it.
It is center.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Center. It's you're doing an XY axis basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Drop it
So
doesn't work.
justify content is left and right, and align is up and down.
Yeah, it looks like that's more or less the case, but I bet that there's some sort of special condition where you suddenly flip that for no
Probably.
reason. Just to
Because
confuse,
programmers made this.
Yeah, just to confuse later programmers, you would do that.
Yeah.
That was,
I could see that happening.
I'm smarter. See? That's it. All right.
I love
So-
getting like, as the designer, I don't care that. I mean, I do care, but the idea that it's like I know every developer does something differently, but I don't need to hear you complain, not you, but the developer I'm working with complain about the other developer that had this before. I'm like, just do it. I don't need to know the story behind it.
I don't know. Just using some words here. Flex end isn't right for justified content, is it?
Not for this case, I don't think.
Right.
Because we need the spacing. Don't we need the space around?
Yeah, space around. That's it.
Then,
Space around. Yeah, that's
then-
looking better. And not
Yeah.
center.
and then it's justify. No, it's what is it? Align bottom. Align. No, what was
Align
it?
items.
Baseline. Is that right?
I didn't do
No.
anything.
What was it that we?
Flex.
Oh no, it was end. Flex end.
Yeah, there we are. Great.
There we go. Yay. Oh, and then they just disappeared.
And now we got another.
Okay.
Level 8.
All right. So we've got 3. I feel like this one is just.
Oh, we haven't
Oh, wait.
we haven't named the new sibling here, the
Oh.
red one. What's the red one's name? Chat, any ideas?
I'll let you name this one.
Okay. This one's name is Red.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So we've got
Red leader.
So we have Herbert Aaron and her brother Paul Aaron, and then finally there's Red Aaron.
That's me after I've been in the sun too long. Red Aaron.
All right. So now we've got flex direction as a thing that we can do.
Okay, so get
There's row
in the same
reverse, column
order.
column reverse. Let's try column just to see what happens.
Oh, I see. Because just noticed that they flipped the colors. Okay, so it's row reverse, I bet, because that's a row. Columns are.
Yep, that's it.
Ta-da!
Bam! Done. Let's see if we can get to level 10.
I'm still trying to figure out how this applies to actually doing something when you're building it. Like,
So
because you also have copy and all sorts of things. So
yeah, you're right. Okay, so instead of it being frogs and lily pads, they're
right.
elements and where you want them to go on the page.
Okay.
And so,
But how do you like it? Like if you're working with like 1/4, like or four columns or something like that, how do you using these properties that seem pretty basic? Do you set that stuff up? I mean, I don't know if that's something we can answer, like, because I know this is not really an in-depth investigation into this.
Can you use flex wrap to wrap it instead of having it smash like this?
Okay.
Do that.
Oh, there's also 200 pixel there flex 200 declaration set on. Okay, so you can set sizing and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's all I want to know.
Okay. Nice. So flex direction in this case
Would be column reverse. Oh wait, what it? Nope.
not quite.
Oh, if you do that, then you push it up, right? Or is that a weird way to do that?
It won't let me give me new lines. Look at that. I'm hitting the enter button. It won't let me put in another line to try and do this in a more complicated way.
So
which is probably better.
okay. All right. So
It won't
take
let
that
me
out.
do it in a convoluted way.
All right.
I wonder if it'll just accept any CSS.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Ah!
Hey,
Oh
look
my
at that.
gosh! What have I done? The lily ponds are in the open ocean.
They're also everybody's like they're out to sea. There's no pads. No. What happens when you take it away? Does it go back? Okay, it does.
Orange. Ah, it's even worse.
Wait, why? I wonder why it's changing the background color, but then eliminating the pad. Oh, because they're part of the background. They're not really there.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. But now we know that we
It's
can
funny,
use
when
any
you say
old
that, too, 'cause
CSS in here.
You look, it's like you can tell that they're a little bit more blotchy. They're not quite as sharp as the frogs. Okay, flex direction. I don't. Is it row reverse then? That can't be right. Oh, if you do row reverse then column reverse.
Can't do two lines.
Oh, that's right. Nah.
But I bet there's a simpler way to do this.
Yes, but what?
There's only four options we have. There's row,
Right.
which does nothing. Row reverse, which is wrong. Column reverse, which is wrong.
Just column then.
Yeah, that was right.
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go. Okay.
Cool. So that's about as far as we're going to be able to
because it
get.
was already in the right order, and I get it. Okay.
Yeah, that's about as far as we're going to be able to get.
Aw.
Yeah, I know. I was having fun too. Yeah, you can go to this site too, flexboxfroggy.com.
Yeah, I might actually just try and finish the rest of that.
Yeah, I mean, like seriously, I got it done pretty quick, but it is enjoyable. And there's
Yeah, I mean,
another
if we
one
weren't chatting,
too.
we probably would have it finished.
Let's see if I can find the other one that I really like. Grid Garden.
In the chat room, Red Aaron is the Russian revolutionary.
Yes, Red Aaron. Not to be confused with the Red Baron.
That's good.
Yeah. So, yeah. Looks like... so this is another thing where now we're just going to try and get the water onto the carrots. So this is Grid Garden, cssgridgarden.com.
That's too much water for those carrots, but okay.
Yeah, you have a point about that. That is too much water. So we're going to stop there. Stop sharing the screen. And here we are. So, Aaron, what did we learn today?
Well, we learned about Flexbox. I think it's kind of cool. They learn one that they have a really weird arbitrary way of naming things. But once you figure that out, it actually makes a lot of logical sense. So it would be something that would be easier and use fewer code lines than, which means that your page would load faster as well.
True. Yeah, that's also true.
So yeah, so Flexbox is something that would be worth learning for that.
Yeah, yeah. And so
And even if you
now,
don't develop, it's still good to like get an idea of what is possible, which is always a good thing, even if you're not doing it yourself.
yeah, yeah, unless you know, like, okay, they can probably put this together with Flexbox, so I'll just
Right.
give it to them I'll just give it to them in elements, and they can align those the way that they like. You
Yep.
know, rather than like, here you go, here's a bunch of things, you can put them together the way you like, or
No,
rearrange them.
I don't ever hand anything over to anybody and just say do what you like. That's asking for disaster.
You're gonna come back and be like, oh,
Yeah.
no,
It's hard
why,
enough
why?
when you give it, hoping that they do actually do what you ask, and then it still doesn't look the same. So,
Yeah,
although maybe it's counterintuitive if you say just do whatever, maybe it somehow will end up exactly like you want it.
yeah,
Probably not.
yeah. I'd
Yeah,
say
no,
that they're
this is really cool. This was it kind of. I want to go back and start learning some development just so I can do simple pages and things like that on my own, or
yeah.
tweak, WordPress pages or something like that. So I think this would be really helpful for that.
Right, and just diving down, just touching the next layer of who's working on the stuff that you're working on means that you can sort of design with empathy for that person as well.
Yes. No, I definitely try and do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty cool. And then also you can even go in there and be like, no, look, you just do it like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there has been times when it's like if somebody doesn't know and you send them to an example, like, oh, and then they look at the code or whatever, like that's how that's done. So
Right.
it does happen.
Yeah. So that's
You're
cool.
talking about coding with empathy. With the first website, or one of the first big websites that I did, was for General Motors, and the design I made was oval, with like, and I knew how it in my head how it would cut up, and it just made the site look like it was not a square website, which is not it was without Flash, and in a time period that just was really hard to do. The
Right.
developer came over and was like, "What are you doing to me?" And I'm like, no, watch this. And then I just laid the grid on top of it. He's like, oh, that's brilliant. So I don't know if it was brilliant, but it was like, but so now we made this site that didn't have like the same feel as every other 1999, left nav, top nav, boxy sort of thing. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it was for a contest, so it didn't have to be that deep of a site. So that really helped too.
That's definitely helpful. Just lower the scope. You don't have to design the whole universe. You just have to make this little page, and that's it.
That was also the Olympic Committee that for that same project, they sent a paragraph of text and said that had to appear on every web banner. And we're like, do you know how web banners work? It's like, that couldn't possibly fit into that space. Well, then you're going to have to do something else. And so General Motors had to have a conversation with them that when they get to the landing page, that information will be there, but we cannot in a, whatever the size banners were back then, you can't put that information in.
There's a famous example of that happening, and like someone's like, okay, so we're going to need 3 lines that are all at right angles to each other that make a triangle. And I want them to use green ink, but for the lines to be red.
Okay.
And it's like, can that be done? It's like, oh, of course it can be done. Of course it can be done. This person's the expert. He can do anything.
That's a project manager, apparently, saying that.
Right.
So is this something that I should know?
No, I don't know. It's
okay. No, I didn't know if you were referencing something specific.
Yeah, I am. It's a YouTube video.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Cool story.
Yeah, that does happen a lot. But I think definitely learning more about the tools, even if you're not going to be using them, is always helpful.
Yeah. I mean, like, when I was studying theater, I remember a theater teacher telling me, like, you need to understand lighting, you need to understand sound design, you need to understand set design, so that you don't get in those people's way and you don't piss them off and you don't have them let you bad because you pissed them off.
I have known people who have done that on television shows for people that were like mean to them.
Right.
So, oh no, you have a lot of shadow on you. That's sad.
That's
you know?
sad. Well, hey, you're
just
technically lit, so you're done.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
I will not reveal who that was.
Right.
Wow. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
Got a couple of questions for you. Normally, I would ask some developer questions, but since you don't really work, like you're not actually a developer, but you do work with developers, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you, what's the number one thing you wished developers knew before they started working with you?
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Yeah.
The whole program.
I mean, just basics like, opening up like, hey, this is a great image or whatever we're using it. We're having a little bit of problem. Can you just, reduce it 10%? So it has to go from them back to me. I have to do it in Photoshop, then send it back to them. And then there's a back and forth if it's not right, where if they just had it and they could do it themselves, as long as it wasn't like, and I'm not asking them to redesign it, but just, right. And I know now that Photoshop files, there's more development being done with Sketch, which I'm going to teach myself, which is essentially like a dumbed down Photoshop. Mm-hmm. And that it sets up the CSS for the type as you're doing it.
That's cool.
Kind of, yeah. So there's some cool things to it. So I think that might help with that issue, but they're still going to have assets that are not exactly 100% right. And just having the ability for the developers to tweak that would be really helpful.
Right. They don't need your help in order for them to use the bathroom, is what you're saying.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. So you wish they knew like some basic Photoshop, like they were not looking at that being like, I don't understand this. What is this thing called language?
Yes.
Right.
Well, there's been like, we don't deal with Photoshop. I'm like, okay. And this was like 10 years ago when they didn't have Sketch or anything like that. It was really not.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with people, or like for me, like there have been times where like we need to change something and be like, I won't necessarily use Photoshop for it, but I'll go and just find some open source tool or something like that and be like, right. Yeah, I'm just gonna make it a little smaller. Okay, good. Yeah. Good to go.
And a lot of it is also, you want to make sure when you export the image that it's the lowest possible K size, but the highest quality. So I know sometimes developers don't want to touch it because of that.
Right. Yeah.
But there's also that sort of, I guess this kind of goes with a parallel to that, where developers also literally will take what you do even when they know it's wrong. Like, oh, this image is 4 megs. There's clearly something wrong with that. I could very easily just export it and keep the image looking almost exactly the same, but they don't do it. And then you come back and like, oh, this is gigantic. Yeah, we noticed that. They don't tell you it. They don't do anything about it. It's just like, that seems to be a literal taking of design, I guess, is better than not taking any, like just ignoring it. But I think sometimes there's just too much of that. That makes sense.
Have enough familiarity of those tools so that you have a little bit of agency and can like make basic sensible choices.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I would think the same for me. Like I should know enough about development and what can be done with CSS and what can and can't be done for a website, that I don't design something that you can't build.
Right.
And there should be it's like, you should be able to take the files that I have and make them for that thing that you're designing to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Or at least know what to ask me.
Right.
Like, this isn't working, fix it. I don't have any information when you say that.
Make it go.
Yeah.
It won't go.
We all know how that turned out, actually. They were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Remember when we watched that episode as a group in the studio, where it's like, wow, Riker's just not, he's going to send Geordi off to his death there.
So for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Star Trek now.
We have our own shortcut little language of, yes.
Yeah. That's there's an episode where there's a bunch
Samaritan snare.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really dumb space travelers, or they appear to be dumb. And in fact, they're really, really dangerous. But they just speak very
They basically
slowly.
steal other people's technology.
Yeah. Our ship
They
won't
appear
go.
to not be very smart.
You think we're not smart.
Yeah.
We are smart. Yep.
No, we're just evil.
That too. So,
Yep.
okay. Well, that's pretty much all the time we have for today. I do have a few people I want to thank before the show is over. And that is my production liaison is Matt Pittner. He has a show on Outpost 13, and he also pretty much runs the whole channel. And he, along with
He is Outpost 13?
yeah, along with several other very talented and important people who I am not mentioning at this time because they're not my production liaison. But I love you all. My designer is Aaron Harvey, who's right over here. There he is. He has a show called Infinite Trek, and you should definitely check out his show on Outpost 13 if you like Star Trek, if you want to deep dive into Star Trek, even if you're not very familiar with Star Trek. It's a very welcoming show. So check that out. It's on Saturdays at noon right now.
Noon. Yep.
Yeah,
We've
okay,
been noon,
cool.
because at 2:00 is the improvised generation, so we kind of have like a Star Trek Saturday.
Cool, yeah. And of course, you can check the schedule on Outpost 13's Twitch channel to see where that is in your time zone. Then my marketer is Lucas Vanasek. He has a show called Two Liars. It's on generally tomorrow.
That is a lot of fun.
That is a lot of fun. It's there's two teams of 3 people, and there's a story. One of them is telling the truth. The other 2 are making it up. You have to figure out which one is which. Botmaster is Cody Bushy, and he has a show called An Actor Unprepared that's on Mondays. And you should check that out as well. Music that you've heard before and after the stream, that's going to be by Arlo Sanders and Alex Kahn, with art by Aaron Harvey. There's not going to be a stream for this show next week because of the election. I realize it's the day after the election, but who knows what the future holds. And as such, I figured it was best for us to give people some time to reflect upon the nature of democracy on that day. So if you haven't voted, now's the time. Go vote, please. Make a plan right now. Turn off this Twitch stream. Go vote.
If you have early voting in your state.
Yeah, definitely look up what that is. Look up, make a plan. Definitely vote. Cool. So that's pretty much it. We'll have more shows tomorrow,
Great.
and I think we're doing like a Halloween special this weekend too, aren't we?
Yes. Friday, there's like a double screening, I think, of horror movies. With I think we've got some special guests like Lisette will be joining.
Cool.
And then on Saturday we have all sorts of programming for Halloween, including Infinite Trek, which we're doing our personal scary episodes of what scared us in Star Trek.
Nice.
And the 2 p.m. the Improvised Generation is doing their Mirror Universe episode. And after that, I don't know what the schedule is completely, but you can find it on Outpost 13.
Hey, Pathio7, just follow the channel. Thanks, Pathio7.
Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you.
So check out all that stuff, and we'll see you in a fortnight for Coding Koans. There's plenty of other programming though on this channel, so check it out anytime. I'll see you guys. You want to do the awkward exit that we have at the end of every developer meeting you've ever had?
Okay.
Okay. So
how do you turn it off?
I'm gonna stop it now. Hold on. Let me just transition. Okay, I think the music is playing now.
I'm finally here now.
Oh, you are? Oh, that's
Yeah.
a shame. It's over. Okay.
I think we probably none of that came out.
No, our audio is still live actually.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. Now for serious, for reals, we're gonna stop the audio. Here we go.
just a man. If you see my face at your hour of death, don't shake. Don't shake in your boots, no, don't you fret. Cause I'm gonna take you down where the beats are pumping. Down to hell where the lava's jumping. In the mountain, lava's jumping. Down to hell where the lava's jumping.
Let yourself fall, cause you'll only get higher. Let yourself drop like a bee on fire. Living half dead, so you might as well drop. The f***ers can't find you, the beat don't stop. The beat don't stop. It'll never stop.
I walk this life. The only steps I can. Steps too high. I'm just a man. I walk this life. The only steps I can. Steps too high. I'm just a man. When you start saying, a mountain is a mountain, a river is a river. Well, living Zen, a mountain is not a mountain, a river is not a river. After learning Zen, a mountain is a mountain,